my skipper was, again, he was a warrior. So Jim Ross, he was FedEx, God rest his soul. He was a good dude. He's a warrior. So he's like, we're going to drop bombs. And we had this, I forgot what they called it, but we carried two bombs. We could only land on the ship with two 500-pound bombs. Anything more than that, we just had to drop in the water because it was too heavy to land on the boat. So it was a mission you take off, you cap, you protect the boat from boats coming out. And he's like, Bags, that's a bullshit mission. He goes, tonight, you and Woody are taking off. He goes, forget the mission. He goes, you're going to go into Iraq, find a fact to talk to, and drops on something. I don't care what, but don't come back to the boat with two bombs, and don't drop them in the water. So we took off. I remember Woody. I'm like, Woody, you got the radios. I'm going to be looking for a fact. So I found a fact, and I'm like, hey, we got two Hornets here. We got, four bombs, two bombs each. We're looking to bomb something. He's like, yeah, here's a kill box. And I'm like, Woody, we found a place to bomb. And I went, I think I showed you the video. I was bombing at night with a flare at 10,000 feet level with iron bombs trying to hit two moving cars. I missed him, but I scared one of the guys so bad, he stopped his car and ran out. You could see it on the flare. So, and one time I didn't have a mode 4, and my XO was like, you can't fly Bags without a mode 4. You're going to get some Air Force guy's going to shoot you down, thinking because you're not squawking. And in jungles, he's like, Bags, do you want to fly? I'm like, yeah, I want to fly. He's like, stay on Deli's wing. Don't lose him or you'll be dead. I'm like, okay, I'll stay on Deli's wing, even though I'm not squawking. So it was good to see that, but the war was going so fast, Rain, and the war at first, if I remember correctly, they said this is going to be about 10 to 2 weeks of air war, then the ground war. But it was going so good that we just continued the air war because for like 30 days, it was just going so well. We just dominated. And they go, all right, we have to get ready for the ground war. So they took the America from the Red Sea and they moved us into the Persian Gulf. So now we had 4 boats in the Persian Gulf. And I sent you a picture yesterday that I had drawn, and we were flying 12 miles off the coast of Iran. We were capping in there. So we had 4 carriers in the Persian Gulf. And now we're doing the short range into Kuwait to get them, soften them up for the ground war. And I was telling you earlier about that. There's a little island off of Kuwait called Falaka, and we knew Saddam thought he watched too many World War II movies. He thought we were going to put the Marines on Falaka and do an amphibious assault across the Persian Gulf into Iraq, and that's how we were going to attack them, and Iwo Jima too, So, but it would have been suicidal. He was going to dump 10 million gallons of oil in the water and light it. I mean, it just would have been suicidal. But he thought we were going to do it, so we wanted him to think we were going to do it. So they go, hey, we're going to bomb Falaka today, even though there's nothing on there. They took all the people off. It's like a Martha's Vineyard, I guess, for Kuwait. So they took all the Kuwaitis off. Our Iraqis are living there, and so go bomb, soften it up, make it look like we're getting ready to stage. So, I got a mission one day to bomb Falaka, just whatever, and I'm coming through the clouds. I'm like, there's no way I'm not. I got hit something, and as I broke through the clouds, I saw a house, and I'm like, drop on this house. I'm like, what a waste of bombs. Not only it was such a fast drop, I missed the house, but this is just ridiculous. So I'm looking back, and I see this house just obliterate with my bombs. I'm like, so I blew up some rich Kuwaiti's house on the beach just to make it look like we're doing amphibious assault. But at least I hit my target. But it was kind of funny. And then, of course, the ground war started, and that was moving so fast, Rain, that my last mission, we had 6 Hornets, and the CAG was leading us, and we went to our 4th target. That they're like, hey, your first target, there's too many friendlies in the area. Here's another target. Talk to this fact. He's like, nah, what do you guys got? We're like, we got 6 Hornets. We got 3,000 pounds. Like, that's way too much. Too close to Americans. Here, try this guy. So finally we got to our 4th target, and they're like, hey, there's a causeway you guys can bomb. And it was a lot of times it was cloudy over Iraq. So I was pretty good at working my radar, so I did a radar bomb on a causeway, and then I quickly switched to my FLIR to try to get films of it, and I think I showed you that too. We flew, but I was then the next day the war was over, and it went fast and furious, and then it was such a good feeling. Like the United States, not only did we win and not lose many people, but it was such an overwhelming victory. Like the United States is back. We are everything we thought we would be. And then before the celebration could, commence, my skipper's like, Bags, you're a bullshitter. Go ashore and do some interviews for TV, CNN, ABC. I mean, and don't make an ass out of yourself or the Navy. So I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, go ashore. You're doing interviews. And you can see behind me, this is one of them with Harry Smith. But, go ashore, do some interviews. I'm like, what do I say? He's like, just don't make an ass out of yourself, So,
Hey, thanks.
yeah, so it was a good deal because we got to stay at a hotel, eat, food, drink, and
Oh,
you hang around with the media, But although I did it, I did the interviews. I didn't do anything great in the war besides anybody else. It was just right place, right time.
well, so one, I can appreciate that. People listen to the podcast. I've told this story a couple times, so they can just skip through the next 45 seconds. But when I had to do my L&O tour at the KAOC, miserable because I'm missing the fight for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it was. Every Air Force guy is miserable because they're all doing their stint there, except for the Navy guy who is the happiest guy on the face of the earth. He's like, I got Wi-Fi, 3 beers a day, my own room. I'm like, all right. I mean, I can
It was.
appreciate that.
I got to call my wife for 2 hours, 3 hours. My parents, in those days, the landlines, that call would have been $1,000 in 1991 dollars.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, we had no internet either. There's none of that, no email. So it was a good deal. And like I said, next thing you know, I'm on national television. Again, not because I did anything great or more than anybody else, just because my skipper's like, Bags, go ashore and do some interviews. Don't make an ass out of yourself.
I'd like to ask, so you kind of alluded to it a little bit in the beginning, which I can appreciate. You just want to get in the fight, right? Like, you're going to be stuck in Jacksonville doing this. We obviously got the whole lead up we're going to take losses. Guys aren't coming back. So one, did you process that, or how did you process that at the time? Just kind of chaff it off. And then now, conversely, looking back on it, does that change your perspective change at all?
It's so funny. That's a good question, Rain, because I'm like, 15, we're going to probably lose 15% of us. Not me, of course, but these guys, I'm probably going to lose 15% of my buddies here, but I know it's not going to be me.
Right. Yes.
And if
100%.
it is, it's going to be a glorious death, a kamikaze into the thing. It's not going to be for sure, it's not going to be on a tanker. I know that. But yeah, just again, 28, want to be in the fight. I had 2 kids, two, and my daughter turned 1 on February 1st while I was on cruise on the mission, on the war. But I didn't think like it was going to be me. I was young. And now looking back on it, I'm like, maybe I should have. But I guess that's your mentality. That's the
Yeah.
mentality you have when you're that young and you're that into it. I just didn't think it was going to be me. Too bad for these other guys here.
Yeah. Yes. Sucks to be them. And I can appreciate that. I mean, that's why I have, I guess, 18-year-olds with rifles when we need to go take the hill. Because
Right.
now, I don't know, do we really need that piece of land? I don't know. Maybe
And
we
now,
do, maybe we don't. But it's
and
not
now,
going to be
man,
me.
here we are flying, and now I'm getting nervous about gas. I'm like, hey guys, we got no gas here. We crashed. Here I am, 63 years old, going, I hope we make this mission here in the Sydney, Australia.
You're right. I hope we can make it out. It's like honestly, the amount of gas we had versus like what I'd been used to previously. Like, there are no options, and I really don't have. I got one go around here, like one closed pattern, and then I'm out of gas.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll flame out in the mid. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, don't. And then, of course, in the Navy, the big thing is you had great mission today, Bags, but when you came back, you almost a no grade 1 wire. That was horrible. You're like, God, I can't believe I got a no grade 1 wire, or bolted. So that was always the big thing too. But and then and because the missions were so long, from the Red Sea, that's when we started using piddle packs. Like, I could fly 2 hours, 2.1, 1.8, but now I'm flying and like, well, how am I going to take a piss? So that was, and I remember one time I took one, and not to get into too many details, but it sprayed. I mean, there was piss. It was like a fan in the cockpit. I mean, it was so.
Well,
Yeah, it was a challenge.
Yeah, I think my first night tanking experience was abysmal. But by the end of that deployment, night tanked so many times, like I could use a piddle pack on the wing of the tanker. And I was like, all right, I've arrived.
Yes.
Or in the wheel, okay? Like, granted, be an altitude stack, use a little autopilot here and there, but it's like, this is it. But for those who ever, I've not been in an F-16 with a center pedestal. Now it has like an iPad, like center pedestal, but some still and previous. round dials, digital ADI. If you see like little water droplets on that stuff, like I'm not touching. I always give like alcohol wipes and like wipe that down. You're like 30
But
degree recline seat.
by the
It's
time
just
it's so funny because by the time I got back to the boat, it all dried up on my suit and the instrument panel. I'm like,
yeah, fine.
good jet, good
Yeah,
jet.
a lot of time. Yeah,
So
and we Tally, my friend, I had her on the podcast. We were flying like 6-7 hour sorties regularly. I mean, I was probably burning through like 6 piddle packs. She would not pee once. I'm like, well, that's just unhealthy. But I mean, I also can appreciate it. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Like there's science involved and I cannot square that corner to figure it
yeah,
out.
me
So,
neither, me neither. And then it's a little cold up in the cockpit. You know, things happen.
yeah.
So it makes it even harder to get that thing through the suit, the G suit. There's a female we fly with at FedEx, no names, but her call sign's Bad Dog because she did that and it went all over the place. And when she got back, they're like, bad dog, like you would say to your dog, you know. But so yeah, I mean the lot changed. You know, this was a war that we totally didn't plan on prior to. You know, it was always the fight the Russians in Europe, probably from the Mediterranean or from the Atlantic, and this war was totally different. Now we're in the Middle East. Now we're in the Persian Gulf. Now we're tanking on Air Force tankers, which we never planned on. We always tanked on A6s or S3s.
Really?
Yeah, and from the boat.
Yeah,
So
there probably wasn't a whole lot of interoperability. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of joint exercises or things like that. Because I'm thinking, what was the Iran, which formed JSOC, the hostage rescue, Desert One?
Desert One in 1980.
So all those changes of jointness and things like that were going on through the 80s. I'm just making assumptions.
I think I hit the tanker maybe once or twice, and we did like a couple joint, but that was nothing planned. But then as we were working up for the war, they're like, we're gonna hit practice on some Air Force tankers because they carry a lot of gas, and that's where there's no way we can make it back. You know, no way we could do the war without the Air Force tanks. So by the time the war was over, I mean, we were experts on the Air Force tankers. Even from the Persian Gulf, we used the Air Force tankers too. And so, yeah, they're nice. I mean, A6 can give you 2,000 pounds of gas, and maybe in the end it's a net 1,500. Where you could take 18,000 from a KC-10, you know, which I think was our max at the time. So it was. I got a real great appreciation for Air Force tanker guys, and they were mostly guard guys. And of course, being a young cocky kid, after I would tank, I'd move up to the side of them, I'd give them a wave off, and I'd put it in blower and blow. I mean, just put an air show on for them, you know.
Yeah,
blow out about 3,000 pounds that they just gave me, just for the air show.
Got to circle back real quick. Yeah, just
top off. Putting air shows, and meanwhile, I got other guys trying to join the tanker, and here's Bags putting on an air show, you know. So.
That it is a miracle that, you know, if you think about, like, you got all these pieces of metal flying 500 miles an hour through the sky, able to make magic happen in the weather at night, all sorts of stuff going on. And yeah,
it was a great experience. I mean, really felt salty and after the war because of all the stuff that we had done. A lot of it was ad-libbed, and you know, you really felt good about yourself, you know, about all this. It wasn't like we had trained for, you know, prior to the war, but you know, so things changed, and yeah, it was just a great experience. Again, we fortunately we didn't lose a lot of pilots, and you know, we did control the air. You know, honestly, the Air Force guys, they did it. I mean, they control the skies. I mean, you know, the Navy, you guys were always the Air Vipers and the Eagles. You know, and the funny thing is, if there was an airborne plane, enemy plane, there was 80 Americans with their teeth out trying to shoot them down. You know, that was the thing, you know, and everybody wanted to be the one to kill him. So that's why I always worried about maybe they think I'm that guy.
Yeah.
You think about the Iraqis, you know, pilot, he's a couple, you know, when the beginning of the war, these guys got what, 15 hours in the last year? They don't even, and they have we totally took out their ground control, their radar. These two guys are flying. They have no flying experience. They're flying old MiG-23s, MiG-21s. They're looking through a straw, and here we got AWACS totally controlling the air. 80 Americans is trying to kill them. I mean, it was talk about a turkey shoot. This was just, we just totally dominated.
I think about that just based upon my experience with, a couple different operations, but putting yourself in that pilot's perspective, because like you said, like most likely that's not your 3,000 hour Top Gun grad, weapons school instructor, again, with, a lot of situational awareness, going out there blasting with intent, knowing what's going on. It's like your guy with like 20 hours who's going to go fly around the flagpole, or, his boss said, hey, I need you to go fly this here to there, and just completely unaware. And, and for those like who are listening or watching, man, I'll put a picture like, if you look inside the cockpit of like a MiG-21 versus the cockpit of a Hornet or a Viper, you're like, dude, who designed this? Well, obviously the Soviets. And like the ergonomics of it, you're like, this is a CRM nightmare, or cockpit resource management nightmare of like, how do you manage the information and what you're doing? It's like, this switch is way back here that I need to turn on and get space. Yeah. So I do wonder about those guys. Like, what did they know?
I appreciated. I understood. I mean, those guys were going against. It was a total. It's a sixth grade basketball team going against LeBron and the Lakers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just wasn't even. And I always give of course, the Israelis get credit, but when you think about who they're fighting most of the time, they're not fighting the Americans or the Singapore Air Force. They're fighting. Yeah. And so we were able to dominate. I did feel. First of all, I would like to say we were told you cannot indiscriminately bomb. You will not indiscriminately bomb. You can't find your target. You drop. We had places where we could drop our bombs in Iraq, or in the water where there'd be no subs to get rid of them. But we were not allowed to just indiscriminately bomb. And I remember there was a central airfield. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like, if you can't bomb your target, just go to that airfield. You can drop through the clouds on that airfield because there's nothing around there. So those poor guys, they were wishing for good weather, because if it was bad weather, we were going to drop our bombs on top of them just to get rid of them. Yeah. So that, it was, it was a good. We dominated. It was a good experience. I did feel for the guys on the ground, the troops, because these guys were getting literally leveled, for 30 days. It's almost biblical, 30 days and 30 nights. We were just bombing them, and they're sitting on the ground waiting for the ground war. And that's why the ground war took 4 days. They were just beat. So it was a great plan. The guys who planned it, I think there were 2 Air Force guys. They planned it. It was phenomenal. Everything came together, and I think the United States really felt good. And I remember particularly, talk about the pride. Everybody was proud of what we were doing. And one of the missions, we came back at night. We went down to the ready, debrief, went down to the ready room, get some food, and they were playing the Super Bowl, probably on tape delay, of course. But we got down there just in time for Whitney Houston to sing the national anthem, which is, I think, one of the most famous national anthems at a Super Bowl. It was because she did such a wonderful job, and the patriotism. So we get down, so we're down there, and they're like, oh, the Super Bowl's on. And so they sang the national anthem. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the whole ready room, just because, we could see that the crowd was supporting us, and Whitney Houston did a great job. And so every time I hear that version of it, it reminds me of that, coming back and seeing her version of Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl while the war was going on. So it made us feel good,
Well, how long did you guys remain?
So again, our cruise moved up from December 28th. We started cruising, and then they said, all right, you guys, I think April 18th, you're going back home, but you come back out in December again. So we went home, and boom, we're back out, and maybe got home in April, and then December we're back out there again. Now we're just doing, combat air patrol, but we're still hitting the Air Force tankers. We're mostly in the Persian Gulf. So that was a tough. Plus we had workups in between, so that was a tough time. I think I calculated my last 22 months in the Navy, I was gone 18 months with cruises and workups. So it was, and I had 2 kids, and then I got out, and I regret it because I love the Navy, but it was a lot, but it was a great experience, and so. And then, of course, flying with FedEx and guys like you, it's a blast too. Reliving all these stories. But so many guys. I used to be the young guy. Now I'm the old guy. And they're like, I wasn't born during desert. I'm like, yeah, well.
What were you doing during Desert Storm? Yeah, I wasn't alive yet.
I was in kindergarten, so, and I don't feel that old, but I guess it's time's gone by. And like I said, it's good. It was good to relive, like with you, like just on some of the texts prior to just all the letters I'd sent my parents and some of the old stuff I kept, and just brought back good memories.
What'd your parents say? Because obviously you have those letters. I imagine you got some back from them. What was the kind of the general theme back and forth there?
They were nervous. My brothers told me my mother was on the couch watching CNN day and night, just watching all the time, just never leaving. And anytime a Hornet went down or something, she, in those days, the letters took 2 weeks to get to and from. There was no immediate communication. So everything was, I hope it's not my son, or, they get a letter 2 weeks later. And but who knows what happened in those 2 weeks' time. So they were nervous. My parents were nervous, and my wife was too, of course, with 2 kids. But she had other Navy wives to, they were all in the same boat and stay strong. So.